Well, the good news is that we do have America's celebrities to help us out here in this particular crisis. And without America's celebrities, what would we do?
It actually makes me uncomfortable to read this kind of nonsense because it is just so detached from reality.
And this is instructive. This is how our elites think.
What to me is really disturbing, and really shows the shift in our culture, is the way in which various figures in the media, in entertainment, even in politics, are talking about this in a manner that suggests a complete lack of seriousness about foreign policy, a lack of understanding, a lack of comprehension, and a kind of jejune, inane projection of local concerns that have to do with political correctness and other kinds of nonsense onto Putin and onto Russia and onto a global stage that doesn't really see things this way.
No one is thinking about the broader strategic picture or the common good. They're all just thinking about themselves. Summed up perfectly by Joy Behar on The View, who said, you know, the worst part of this whole Ukraine issue? What's going to happen to my Roman holiday?
Estimates are 50,000 Ukrainians will be dead or wounded, and that this is going to start a humanitarian crisis, a refugee crisis in Europe. We're talking about 5 million people that are going to be displaced. I mean, it's heartbreaking to hear what is going to happen.
Well, I'm scared of what's going to happen in Western Europe, too. You know, you plan a trip, you want to go there. I want to go to Italy for 4 years. I haven't been able to make it because of the pandemic. And now this, you know, it's like, what's going to happen there?
First, there was a pandemic and 5 million people died, and it stopped me from taking my Italy vacation that I've wanted to take. It's been my dream. And now we have war. What else? What else is going to happen to me as Joy Behar? So I think some very compelling arguments have been presented to Putin. And hopefully he's paying attention because, listen, you got to stop this because if you don't, it's going to kill more polar bears from global warming. And if that's not enough to persuade you, Mr. President, then also you're preventing Joy Behar from going on an Italian vacation that, by the way, she's wanted to take for 4 years.
When Joy Behar started saying this, I thought it was the setup to a joke. You know, and the real problem is I don't get to stay at my Tuscan villa this summer. And I didn't even get to last year either. But it wasn't. She was dead serious. She was 100% serious. And this is instructive. This is how our elites think. I'm not just talking about the elites in government. I'm talking about the elites in government, media like Joy Behar, the elites in private industry. They're not thinking about the national good. They're not even thinking about the global humanitarian good. They're just thinking about numero uno. You know, gosh, this really teaches me about suffering because I feel bad for those children being shelled in Kiev right now. But I might not even get to go to the Uffizi this summer. Can you know, it's suffering, right? Hey, ain't that just the way suffering works?
But there are some solutions that are being posited. So for one, there's a woman named Annalyn McCord who was on 90210? I think she's been irrelevant for a few decades, but she is suddenly relevant again because she has hit upon the solution to the Ukraine crisis. And that is reading poetry to Vladimir Putin about how she should have been his mother. Yes, this is, it's a weird world. This lady will eventually be president of the United States the way we are going. Here's Annalyn McCord.
Dear President Vladimir Putin, I'm so sorry that I was not your mother. If I was your mother, you would have been so loved, held in the arms of joyous light. Never would the stories plight the world unfurled before our eyes, a pure demise of nations sitting peaceful under a night sky. If I was your mother, the world would have been warm. So much laughter and joy, and nothing would harm. I can't imagine the stain, the soul-stealing pain that the little boy you must have seen and believed, and the formulation of thought quickly taught that you lived in a cruel, unjust world.
I mean, the converse of what she's saying is that Putin had a terrible mother. That's obviously why he is the way he is. Must have been that she just beat him with a stick or something. That's why he is. It can't be that he is a geopolitically motivated thug dictator wishing to expand Russia's boundaries. The real problem is that he has childhood angst. It's that he had social anxiety when he was a kid and his mother didn't hold him and cuddle him enough. Now, what's funny about this is that basically that is the view of the left. The view of the left is that Vladimir Putin is insane or irrational or pathological in some way, and that the way that you get through to Vladimir Putin is kindness. Kindness, maybe a little bit of economic sanctions, a little bit. Wouldn't want to go too far. After all, he has to be part of the family of nations. We need his help on climate change. We need his help with Iran. The world is filled with beautiful people who have different cultures from our own that we will not try to pretend to understand in any way. We'll just assume they want the same stuff that we do. And because we assume they want the same stuff as we do, if we offer them that stuff, they'll probably do what we want them to do. And then when they don't want to do that, then we will assume that it's because they had some sort of brutal childhood trauma and they're pathological.
Then we have a guy also on social media, an academic of some sort, and he goes, well, Putin, where does he get the arrogance to do this kind of thing? It's probably because of white supremacy. Putin's white. Could he really do this if he were black or if he were brown? And I'm thinking to myself, how out of it is this type of analysis? I mean, it's one thing to, talk like this at like Oberlin or Bowdoin College, but to put this out when we're discussing a serious international event, I mean, people are even addressing Putin directly. I've seen some videos to this effect, and they're talking to Putin like he's some woke graduate of like Yale, and that he, cares about how you feel or how, the Ukrainians feel or how the world, I keep hearing the world will not forgive you, the world, as if Putin is sitting around, what does the world think about what I'm doing? This does not enter into his brain at all.
From the left, you have this view that really what the people of the world want is the transgenderism. What they really, really want is a left-wing point of view about democratic socialism expanded to them. And so if we just cut them a few checks, if we massage their back, if we hold them in the warm embrace of motherhood, then magically they will come around and they will just be the best people. They will be our friends because at heart, freedom and liberty will win. But our style of freedom, our style of liberty, they have the same priorities that we do. So on the isolationist right, the idea is they have different priorities than we do. Therefore, we shouldn't care about what happens outside our own borders at all. And then on the surrender-oriented left, the idea is they have the same priorities that we do. They just don't know it yet. So we will try to throw things at them. We'll try to give them carrots. And then if they spit in our face, then we will assume that there's something wrong with them. But there's not much that we can do about that. After all, deep down in the cockles of their heart, they know that we are right and they wish to live the way we do.
Here is John Kerry, our climate czar, from really just a few days ago. Listen to this. He goes, now northern Russia is thawing and his infrastructure, Putin's infrastructure, is at risk and the people of Russia are at risk. So I hope President Putin will help us to stay on track with respect to what we need to do on the climate. And here's the New York Times talking about the fighting in Ukraine. And what gets me is the second sentence. The first one is kind of normal. The fighting in Ukraine's east is forcing a mass migration to the west that is crowding mass transit centers and trains and jamming roads. But then comes this little rhetorical classic, this gem, quote, video images of the large number of Ukrainians on the move show few signs of face coverings. Even as the country is just getting past a record high point in its infection rate. So the Times is a little worried that, not only are the mask requirements being ignored, but what about social distancing, guys? You're all in a bomb shelter. You're abnormally close to each other. And I think to myself, it actually makes me uncomfortable to read this kind of nonsense because it is just so detached from reality. It's the mark of a certain kind of ideological derangement.